Hi, welcome to Everyday Learning Opportunities, where we're going to talk about play and the importance of play. While we're waiting to get started, we want to make sure you're comfortable. Grab your favorite blanket, make sure you have a nice drink. Feel free to move around. We want you to be fully comfortable so you can take in the information. I'm Tammy Roble with Early Choices. I'm an inclusion specialist. I'm also a developmental therapist and a certified infant massage instructor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Ropars. I am also an inclusion specialist with Early Choices, and we're very happy that you can join us today.
The big ideas that we want to cover today are brain and play development, natural environments, and tips. We want to talk about how children learn best through play, specifically children under the age of 5 when brains are quickly forming. We're going to share information about natural environments, and natural environments are those everyday learning opportunities that you provide for your children, and this is when children learn best. We want to leave you with some ways that you can make play more advantageous for your child to promote those awesome learning experiences and opportunities. The brain continues to grow and grow, with most of the growth occurring before the age of 5. Growth continues after that, just at a slower rate. Children are born with a brain that thinks in concrete ways. In order to experience something, they need to touch it, they need to see it, they need to hear it. As we switch from concrete to abstract thinking, children begin to understand these experiences have multiple meanings. They relate one experience to a similar experience so that a learned achievement can be used in different settings and situations. You are the bridge for that child as they learn to take their concrete thinking and experiences and turn them into generalized or abstract thinking. You do this by setting up routine-based play opportunities and exposing them to many safe objects, people, and experiences. Let's take a look at some of these experiences. What are some ways you set up the environment to promote physical development? You might have toys on the floor and furniture in your rooms, and these naturally create obstacle courses. When my kids were young, I was obsessed with cleaning up my house. Everything had a place. If it was out of place, I quickly picked it up and put it back. I didn't take advantage of those natural play opportunities, those natural learning opportunities, where those toys on the floor and that furniture that wasn't lined up exactly right could have been a natural obstacle course, promoting my children's physical development, helping them improve their coordination, their strength, and agility. Steps and stools provide jumping opportunities for kids. Floor time for our babies helps promote strength and exploration. Let's take a look at another skill that children acquire through play. What are some ways that you build self-confidence through play? You allow children to problem solve. How are they going to get what they want? They experience pretend play, working together to make something happen. When we think about coping skills, think about ways you promote the development of these skills for your child through play. You might help them work through emotions of wanting something their friend has, waiting turns, needing to stop doing something because it's time to move on. These are natural times that children learn through their everyday experiences and opportunities that you provide to build their self-confidence and coping skills. Let's take a look at ways we build other skills. Children imitate you, and they're always watching and they're always listening. You help make sense of the world, and children watch you do that. They watch your behaviors. They experience your culture and those expectations. You expose them to familiar routines and family rituals. Children learn best in their natural environments that you provide. Let's take a closer look at how our behavior impacts child development. As we expose ourselves to new experiences, we increase our child's awareness and development and understanding. We don't know what we don't know, right? Our brains are so malleable the first 5 years of life that each time a child experiences something new, a new pathway is formed. This new pathway allows for more connections to be made. It's about what you put in that pot and what you bring to the table. It's about you setting up the environment for success. Let's take a closer look at that process. Play is a process, and the process is what is most important. Play is the key to learning for a child. Meaningful play is the process of cooperating, turn taking, and negotiation. Meaningful play is taking chances, making choices, experimenting, and experiencing through exploration. Meaningful play is being an active participant when children experience how to plan by building and problem solving. Meaningful play is spontaneous. Meaningful play is with you as you have conversations and show interest in what your child is doing and saying. Children learn quite differently from adults. Play is what builds together the logical and creative parts of the brain. Let's take a closer look at brain development. This explosion of branching and connecting happens from 0 to 3, and then again at 11 to 12 years of age. At birth, we have over 200 billion neurons. The brain is the only organ that's not fully developed at birth. It's the growth of these pathways that occurs after birth that is so amazing. These pathways make connections between the neurons that help us make sense of what we experience. By 1 year of age, most children understand 70 words and use a handful of them. By 18 months of age, a toddler's spoken vocabulary explodes. This is when children begin to move from concrete thinkers to abstract thinkers. By 2 years of age, the brain is about 80% the size of an adult brain, with approximately 300 word vocabulary and over 100 trillion critical brain cell connections. By 3 years of age, approximately 1,000 trillion connections have been made. 90% of the brain development occurs in the first 5 years of life, before a child starts kindergarten. Wow. Does this give you an overwhelming sense of responsibility? Children learn best through play. You just need to provide those play opportunities. Let's take a closer look at the optimal times to learn. Let's take a look at that social skill development. It peaks between ages 2 and 3. So what does this tell us? This might tell us that it is very important for us to provide a lot of different social opportunities for kids between ages 2 and 3. This might also tell us that we need to be there to help foster that social development when children are learning to take turns, exchange toys, play next to one another, play with one toy together cooperatively. Let's look at the language. You remember the amount of words that a child knows by the time they are 1? About 70, right? So how can we help encourage this developmental area? My colleague Emily is going to talk in a little bit about specific areas of development. If we think back, though, to those number of words that children have by the time they're 1, not the number they're using, but the number they have, their receptive vocabulary, what they're understanding. They have 70 by the time they're 1. They're getting these words from listening to you and watching you as you talk about things that you hold in experience. And again, this is all happening before age 5. And these peaks are happening before age 3. Let's take a look at vision. Looking at this, the peak in vision, right, that starts immediately at birth. This makes you wonder how concerned we need to be with what our infants can see when we bring them home. I think about being aware of different ways to position them during the day. So that might be in their car seat. They might be on the couch next to you when you're fully supporting them. It gives them a different perspective. You might have them in a playpen for a short period of time or on the floor. So it's important to change up their position throughout the day, not just for motor development, but for their visual skill development. One other one I'd like to point out. Look at that emotional control piece. Infants start out with none. This is why when babies cry, they need to be attended to. You can't spoil a baby. They don't have the skills to be able to control their emotions and regulate themselves. This is why we nurture. Now, I know this is a lot. How are you going to remember all this, right? And how can you promote these different areas the best way possible through play? Let's take a look at some of our favorite resources that will help you do this. The Center for Disease Control has several milestone trackers that are free of charge. They're available online and can be found at cdc.gov/milestones. These resources provide ideas for learning while giving you milestones by age from birth through 5 years. There are several other resources available on that site. Another one of our favorites is Vroom. This resource can be downloaded onto your phone, computer, or tablet. When you enter your child's date of birth on this application, you'll receive several play ideas based on daily routines, and you'll receive those on an ongoing basis. You can find that application at www.vroom.org. You can also check out their YouTube channel. My colleague Emily is going to share some information about natural environments and specific play ideas.
Thank you, Tammy. Well, I get the pleasure of talking about natural environments. So, after hearing what Tammy shared with us about all the rich opportunities we have for brain development in our young children, it's great to know that we know that children learn best in familiar environments and during their daily routines. That means wherever you go with your family is a great place for your child to learn. You do not need to buy fancy toys with lots of bells and whistles. There isn't an app for early childhood. What we need to do is talk to our children and integrate learning into every part of our day. We can see on this visual here that there's lots of opportunities just thinking about a typical day at home, taking a bath, picking up toys, enjoying a meal together, dressing, even our bed and nap routine could be a great place to learn. So, we're going to dig down deeper into that, but it's important to note that any place you go with your child, everything you do in your home is the right place to provide opportunities for that brain development that Tammy just shared with us. So here are some examples about our daily routines and how we can provide opportunities for play and learning. When we think about our babies and young children waking up in the morning, we can think about identifying and labeling body parts. This helps children learn new words, it helps them understand their body, and provides them the comfort of a routine. There are lots of fun songs you can sing. Don't worry if you have a great voice or not. I personally do not and sang all the time to my son. And it doesn't have to be very scientific. You can just make up your own silly song about your head and your toes. Meal times, we can talk about food we're eating. We can name the colors of the food we see on our plates. And that's kind of a natural reminder to make our plates really colorful. We can talk about opposites. Our water is cold. The noodles are hot. There's all kinds of opportunities like that. And once you start embedding some of these ideas in your daily routine, you're going to be amazed at how many opportunities you have to think about opportunities to give your child exposure to new language, concepts, and opportunities to grow. So we wanted to take a little bit of a look of what does play look like. As Tammy mentioned a little bit before about her own personal experience, we all come into parenting with our own experiences of how children should behave and how adults should behave. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the research shows is beneficial for adults and children during play. Looking through a picture book with your child is a natural fun activity you can do every day. And you don't have to worry about reading the words. If the book has a lot of words and your child isn't ready to pay attention, you can flip through and look at the pictures and label everything you see. This will help your child gain some skills in paying attention. They will help them learn new words. And as you can see in this picture, it provides an opportunity to have fun together, which is very important for your child's social emotional development and also you and your child's overall well-being. Here we see a duo playing pretend at home. They took boxes that they already had, drew some wheels and headlights, and took a plate, and they are role playing. This gives your child an opportunity to be silly, which actually is really important because it develops their creativity and allows them to imagine their world. And look at what they used. Everyday household objects. Looks like they were just moving and they decided to take a break for play. I know sometimes we see parents with all the fancy toys and different opportunities they might be able to give their children. But I can tell you, after more than 20 years in the field, children love a box. It's just like the best thing ever. You can get out a box and some markers or paint, decorate it, and there you go. You're in a car. You can turn that into a train. You can turn that into a rocket ship. It's an opportunity to use our imaginations. Singing and music come naturally to all children. And there's a lot that children learn through music. And again, don't worry if you don't have the best singing voice or you don't know how to play the piano. Opportunities to experience music is helpful for your child's language and literacy development. And it also helps us provide some opportunities to see into our family culture. If you have songs in your home language that are important to you, this is a wonderful opportunity to build your child's language skills. This picture here, we see children playing with sand in a table, and adults and children all have different responses to textures. You may be someone who hates the feeling of Play-Doh. Your child might be a child who avoids the texture of sand. But it's important to have the opportunity to experience different textures because it helps our overall sensory system develop. And this um, picture here, you can see children playing with scoops. They're measuring and pouring. This actually is the foundation for later math skills. We're looking at volume, really, when we think about it. So play really is the foundation for everything your child will need as they grow older. Now, if you have a child who is sensitive to textures and avoids touching different things, you can be creative in ways that you ask them to experience them. I would not recommend forcing your child to touch something that is not appealing to them, but you can give them a toy car to drive through it. You can give them a paintbrush to touch it with. And sometimes they naturally will experience it that way, and maybe they won't ever love it, but it's a safe way to have an opportunity, an invitation to experience different textures. So, as Tammy mentioned at the beginning, we wanted to give you some of our tips from our experience of playing in classrooms and homes with lots of children from birth to 5. And our key takeaway of all the things that we talked about today, from brain development and natural environments, one of the key takeaways is to have fun with your child and cultivate joy. This is helpful for your well being, it's helpful for your child's well being, and it's so nurturing to your relationship. So don't be afraid to lay on the floor and just build blocks without any idea of some learning outcome you want to have. The outcome could just be to be side by side with your child. Now, I like to incorporate a philosophy that comes from improvised theater. If you've ever seen some TV shows where they improvise different scenes, where it's a kind of theater where they don't have a script. And you can think about play that way. You can imagine you're with your child and there's no script. And when they offer you an idea, you can just say yes to their idea and then add something onto it. So we're going to try to work on saying yes and. So the benefit of this when we say yes is we're joining our child where they're at. We understand their developmental needs at that time, what they're understanding, and what their intention is. Then when we say and, we get to expand their learning a little bit and let them know that their ideas are so important to you that you agree to them and you want to add on to it. So in this situation here with this dad and son playing, if the son is saying, I'm building a tower, the dad could say, yes, I'm going to build the parking lot. And so we start by accepting where the child is and adding on something related. It's the most helpful way to play with children. You will be amazed at what you find out that what your child knows by letting them take the lead. Another thing we love is labeling everything. You cannot imagine how much I talk when I'm playing with kids. And I don't mean that in an overwhelming way, but it's a natural way to teach children words, to expose them to language, let them hear all the sounds in our home language. So when you're playing finger puppets, you could teach your child all sorts of things without trying. For example, that moose could go up and down lots of different times, and your child is gaining an understanding of the concepts of up and down. Again, early childhood, and in fact, our whole lifetime is about connecting with others that we love. And play gives us that wonderful opportunity to empathize with our child and validate their feelings. Sometimes, from adult perspective, the problems or challenges that children experience as big problems don't seem very large from our adult perspective. But we have to remember how young they are and how limited their experiences are. So sometimes building that building doesn't work out and our tower falls, and it can be very frustrating and upsetting. And although we don't want to dwell in that frustration, we do want to acknowledge our child's feelings and help them think of ways to start over again. There's a lot of emotions in playing, especially when we're at the playground, or we're playing with siblings. And so letting kids know that we understand how they feel, giving them a label for the feeling that they're having, and helping them think about ways to move back to playing or moving closer to feeling okay is a foundation to your child's social emotional development. And play is that natural opportunity for problem solving. So it's hard not to jump in and just fix things for children. If you look at this picture, you can see at the top of their tower, some of those blocks are not lined up exactly. They almost looked like they're just piled on. And although we might be tempted to fix them for the child or tell them, you can't put that there, it's going to fall down, what we see from this picture is that strategy actually right now is working pretty well. And so if we just notice things in the child's play, for example, wow, I noticed when you put the cube on top of the flat rectangle, everything tipped forward. We don't need to say anything more. It's just observing. And later, if the tower falls, we can help the child problem solve. Last time I remember we put the large flat one on the bottom and we put the cube in the corner, and then our tower fell down. What do you think we should try this time? So, guiding your child to think, help them predict what may happen, and be okay with things not working. That's what scientists do. And our children are little scientists who are forming an idea and testing it and trying it over and over again. And finally, our last tip is to follow your child's lead. Children are always looking for places and opportunity to have power, to build their identity of self. And a great, safe way to do that is through play. So if your child is dancing and they decide to put one arm up, put your arm up too. Mirroring your child is a healthy way for your child to reinforce their relationship with them, experience a little bit of the delicious power that all children crave in a safe and appropriate way, and it shows them that you see them. And in this digital age that we're living in, where we're very tempted to always look down at our phones, be distracted by whatever we have going on, the biggest gift you can give your child is your attention. So when you choose to give your child positive attention, you're showing them how much you care, even if it's just jumping up and down and waving your arms around. Your presence, your eye contact, your attention, and saying yes and are all the gifts your child needs to build a healthy brain and relationship with their caring family. We want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy lives to explore some ideas about play and everyday learning opportunities from our perspective. Again, we're from Early Choices. We're an organization that supports the inclusion of all children with disabilities from birth to 5. That means that we want children, regardless of their ability, to have the same opportunities in their communities, in their educational settings, and in their families as children without disabilities. If you want to learn more about early childhood inclusion, hear more tips and strategies, and be connected with resources, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Early Choices ORG. Thanks again and take good care.